being able to be assertive will genuinely make you a happier person. Because right now, if you're passive, you probably have a low self-esteem. You probably never say what you actually truly think and feel. And because of that, a lot of the relationships that you're having are unhealthy because they are unequally weighted. It's all about the other person's needs and wants rather than yours. Hello and welcome back to She Is the Moment. I'm your host, Shona, and today I'm going to record a podcast that is going to help you if you find that people are walking all over you, pushing your boundaries and making you do things that you don't want to do. By the end of this podcast, you'll know exactly how to be a more assertive person who stands up for herself. Okay, so this podcast is inspired by my podcast manager. In fact, it was her that said, "Do you know what, Shona? You're a really confident person, and I think you would really love to hear a bit more about that." And I was like, yeah, girl, I can't believe I haven't recorded a podcast about that yet. Because yes, I am a very exuberant, loud, extroverted person. There's not a single inch of me that is introverted. I love being loud and out and proud, and it is just something that comes naturally to me. But you know what is something that doesn't actually come natural to me? Having strong boundaries. That is a skill that I have learned over the years, because you can be someone who is super confident, who is an extrovert, but you can still be someone who has people walk all over you and push your boundaries. So in this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to be more assertive. So let's start with this week's Freedom Win of the Week. And I feel like it is very much in line with the topic of this podcast. So I'm going to talk a bit about one of my one-to-one clients. She's been working with me for a few months now, and I actually love the reason that she chose to work with me. So she is an online running coach, and she's doing pretty well in her business. Like, she is established, she's got a decent amount of clients, she's earning decent income, but she has recognized what is holding her back from earning more money, from having more impact, from scaling her business, is the fact that she lets people walk all over her. She was someone who really struggled to increase her prices. She struggled with telling clients what they needed to hear. She was a bit of a people pleaser, and she recognized that she's so experienced. She's really good at what she does, but there's people out there charging more than her, and it was really, really frustrating for her. So really and truly, she wanted to grow a super strong backbone and be that person who is a boss, who's in charge, who is a leader. And that is something that you can't just fake. Like, that is something that takes a lot of time and work on achieving. And she knew that I am really good at helping people do that. So that's what we're working on. And I can already see in just the couple of months that we're working together, there has been a real shift in her and her confidence within herself and the way that she runs her business. And it is having a huge impact on her income. She is bringing in lots more one-to-one clients at a higher price point, and she's working with people who she really enjoys working with. But sometimes those people do slip through the net. Sometimes you do get someone that just isn't quite right, and you have just missed that. So this is what happened. She had this new client sign up. So they had a call beforehand to make sure that the offer that he was joining on was perfect for him. Now, he was doing that thing where he was being a bit of a tricky customer. She described very clearly what her two offers were, and it is very clear. She offers one-to-one coaching and she offers running programming, right? But he was trying to make a pick and mix of her offers, and he was trying to say, would you do something like this for like this price? And I'm going to tell you right now, do not let people bargain with you. But she gave him the benefit of the doubt and said, no, these are my two offers, one-to-one coaching or running programming. So he decided to go for running programming. But from the very start, she just had a feeling that he was not going to be a fun client to work with. He was coming up with all these reasons for why he wasn't able to do the programming that she offered. And the thing is, with running programming, this is not one-to-one coaching. So he was really pushing the boundaries, even though she'd set out that this doesn't involve like a lot of a one-to-one element. But he was wanting to speak to her all the time, asking questions, questioning the reason why she did things. And within a couple of weeks, he had emailed her saying, look, I don't think this is for me. And she spoke to me about it, and she was a little bit frustrated and annoyed by it because no one wants to hear that about their business. But we had a chat about it, and I said, look, this person is not worth it for your business. Like the amount of money he's paying for you, it is not worth it. And previously, a version of her would have like bent over backwards to try and keep him, or to try and change her offer, or to try and like make him stay. But she's in a position in her business where she just does not need people like that anymore. And so I said to her, just let him go. Just say, well, okay, this isn't clearly for you. I have given you all these other options. I've tried to help you as much as you can, but thank you so much. Goodbye. And she sent him the email. And at one point she'd sent me the screenshot, and she'd added in a little paragraph and been like, oh, well, we could maybe do this when we do this. And you could maybe give you a refund. And I was like, delete that now. So she deleted it. She sent it to him, and she said, I feel so good for having sent that email. Like, that is such a power move. Now, some business coaches will tell you never to sack a client. I will tell you, see if someone is not aligning with your business, if they are making you feel like shit, if they are causing you so much more headache than you need, then sack them. Feel free to sack them. I'm giving you permission right now, because that is how you have a life first business. And I cannot tell you how good it feels to be in a position where you just don't need people, where you are so in demand that you're like, this is not going to work out anymore. So thank you very much. Goodbye. That is the sort of thing that builds evidence that you are a leader and you are in charge, because not everyone is for you. Not everyone is meant to be working with you. Like, you are such an amazing, unique coach, but you cannot serve everyone. And some people are just shitty clients, and it's time to let them go. And so that is a freedom win of the week, because it's little actions like that that build you up as a big deal business owner. So I'm very, very proud of her. She's doing so well in her business. She's building and scaling. She's earning more money, and she's bringing in ideal clients and letting go the ones that aren't ideal. So well done to her. I love it. Okay, so let's get into the main topic of this podcast. And I feel like I should start by blowing my own trumpet. So last year, I created a confidence course for people who needed to get the fuck out their own way. So it's for people who were struggling with moving forward in their life, whether that was starting a business or improving your relationships, or, you know, asking for a promotion at work. So it addressed a lot of mindset blocks. And in order to be more confident, like I think like lots of people, if you Google or type into YouTube how to be more confident, that is really difficult, because not everyone is an extrovert like myself. Some people are naturally introverted, which is fine, right? But what is important is having the ability to stand up for yourself, have healthy boundaries, and ultimately be assertive, right? And when I thought about this, I thought about the phrase big dick energy, which, I mean, it can be problematic because it's kind of linking a positive trait to a male organ, and most of the people that are watching this are going to be women, and it's not all about the big dick energy. But what I feel is it is about the big deal energy, right? So I'm going to talk about big deal energy. I got this lovely, lovely message from a client of mine, and it inspired this confidence course, because what I was thinking was the changes that she's made in her life have all really boiled down to what I've helped her with. So procrastination, her inner critic, being more assertive, having better boundaries, getting the fuck out of her own way and taking action in her business, right? So she sent me this lovely message. Let me just read it out. I love your big dick energy, and I love how you want to get everyone into the same energy so unapologetically and authentically. I love that 2023 gave me permission to do the same, and that watching you makes me want to never shrink myself ever again. That is honestly the kindest message. And whenever I'm having a bad day, I will read that, and it just reminds me what I help people with. So I was like, I've not really heard that expression. That was a long time ago I got that message, that big dick energy. I hadn't heard it before. So then I looked it up, right? What is big dick energy? So here is the definition from an article in The Independent by someone called Rachel Hosey. She said, someone with big dick energy is someone with a relaxed confidence in themselves. They're not shy or quiet, but they're not arrogant either. And they're certainly not overcompensating for something. It's about radiating energy that draws people towards you and gives off the impression that you have your life together. If you have BDE, you're probably well liked and easy to get on with. People like spending time with you. You make people feel good. And I love that. What I love about it so much, right, is that while it is about embodying this confidence, it does it in a way that lifts people up. They want to be like you instead of like, it's not all about your ego or how amazing you are. It's about just like really feeling confident and embodying that. And that inspires other people too, which really spoke to me in particular, because if you listen to last week's episode where I was talking all about inner critic, this spoke to me because I was like, I have been spending so long trying to dampen that side of myself, when actually what I should be doing is embracing that, because it does inspire other people. When I am embodying this BDE, it helps other people do it too, because they want in on some of that. So it's all about lifting people up and being a bit of a figurehead. So I love that, right? So essentially what big dick energy is assertiveness. And a problem that a lot of people have is that instead of being assertive, they are passive. And that's what stops you from being in control of your own life, because you are letting other people make decisions for you. So passive is when you allow others to violate your rights. It sounds scary, right? But really and truly, that's what it is. It's when people push your boundaries and you let them do that. And you only think about other people's needs before you think of yourself. And when I say that, like, I feel like I'm probably talking to so many people, because a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are mums. And when you're a mum, you do put everyone else's needs before your own. So being able to be assertive will genuinely make you a happier person, because right now, if you're passive, you probably have a low self-esteem. You probably never say what you actually truly think and feel. And because of that, a lot of the relationships that you're having are unhealthy, because they are unequally weighted. It's all about the other person's needs and wants rather than yours. But if we think about being assertive, that is when you not only respect the needs and wants of others, but you also respect your own. We don't want to ever push into the too far in the other direction where you're aggressive and you only really think about yourself. But being assertive takes into account other people, but also takes yourself into account. So when you're assertive, you're going to have a strong self-esteem. People who are assertive have better health outcomes. And that sounds wild, but it is true, because someone who is assertive does prioritize their own needs, their own health, their own well-being. And also, when you're assertive, you're going to have healthier relationships. And I'm not just talking about relationships with partners. I'm talking about relationships with your family, but also your relationships with your clients, because there is a mutual respect and understanding. So if you think about what stops you from being assertive, right, it's probably this thought that being assertive means that you are being rude, which is so far from the truth. Because maybe you think when you're being assertive, you need to be aggressive. But what you need to know is there is a very big difference. An aggressive person only cares about themselves, whereas an assertive person wants the best for everyone in the situation. You might also think that having boundaries and being assertive isn't a kind thing to do, because what you have been programmed to think over years of this exposure to other people pushing your boundaries is that in order to make people happy, you need to have no boundaries and be passive. But often the kindest thing to do is to be assertive. And I'm always going to use the toddler example here. I think about my toddler, right? And he thinks he knows what's best for him, and what's best for him is not what's best for him. So I have to have boundaries in order for him to be well fed, to get a good night's sleep, to have a routine that makes him feel safe. Another reason that you might struggle with being assertive is that you feel like you've got a bit of a skill deficit in terms of actually having that sort of discussion with someone, standing up for yourself, and your vocabulary. Like, you can all think about a situation where someone is able to manipulate you and run rings just because they're really good at it. Like, it's a skill that they have, and maybe it's not necessarily a skill that you feel like you do have. So what I'm going to do in this podcast is I'm going to actually teach you some ways that you can be more assertive. And you're going to love it, because these are actually scripts that I teach my clients that will help them get further in business because they're not letting people walk all over them anymore. Okay, so it starts with basic assertiveness. So what I mean by this is making clear and simple statements that express your needs, they state facts, raise issues, and give compliments, because giving compliments also is assertiveness, and some of you might really struggle with that too. So for example, I need to be off this call at 2:00. What isn't assertive is saying, I need to be off this call at 2:00 because I actually need to leave and go and pick up my child. And maybe like I could get off because like if I don't get off at 2:00, then I'll have to all this stuff. That is not assertive. If you add unnecessary detail or conditions, they will always weaken your statement. So keep it really simple and short and concise. So some more examples would be, I'm tired, so we can discuss this tomorrow. The cost is £600 per month. Mummy likes it when you help her. I thought your presentation was really interesting. So there's some examples of statements that you can make that just literally state your point, that people can't unpick, people can't argue with, because it is just you stating the facts. The next way that you can use assertiveness is empathetic assertiveness. So this is when, say you're having a discussion with someone and you are at loggerheads because you want X, but they want Y, right? So empathetic assertion is acknowledging what they want, but you're also stating what you want and need to. So here's some examples. I understand you want to stay up and watch Moana, but your bedtime is 7:30. That is one I have used very recently, can't you tell? I know you're busy at the moment, but here is my content for review. I appreciate you're feeling tired, but I need you to walk the dog. So you can see how I've got examples here that you can use in a professional setting, you can use in a personal setting, you can use to your partner, you can use to your child. These are all super, super effective. The next way is consequence assertiveness. So this is when you are stating a boundary and what will happen if someone pushes a boundary. So here's my examples. If you continue to hit your brother, I'm going to put you in another room. I love using my assertiveness as a parent because it is so natural for me to almost like over-explain and over-talk myself. So the more I literally just state, if you do X, I will do Y. And that's what boundaries are. What people don't realize is boundaries aren't you trying to force people to do something that they don't want to do. A boundary is literally like, if you do this, this is what I'm going to do. That's a boundary. Hello, health and fitness professionals. It's that time of year again. You know, the day when people are willing to elbow a granny in the face just for a discounted air fryer. Yes, we're talking about Black Friday. Well, how about this November, you do things a little bit differently and instead actually invest in yourself. This Black Friday, I've got a couple of deals for you that will actually move your business forward in terms of income and impact, while creating the freedom-filled lifestyle you've always dreamed of. Are you ready? Right now, you can get 6 months inside the Liberation Lounge for only $199 instead of the usual $294, which is 33% off. Or if you're ready for a longer term commitment with even bigger savings, you can join for 12 months for only $349, which is a huge 40% off. Now, a lot of you are going to be so excited to hear that my signature coaching collective, Unfucking Stoppable, is also part of the Black Friday magic. So if you're an established online coach wanting to hit consistent 5 to 7K months, then listen up. If you join before the 29th of November, you'll get a free one-to-one strategy session with me where together we will quickly address what is holding you back from those consistent high income months. You'll also get 2 more check-in sessions with me where we make sure you're staying focused and on track with your goals. Now, this VIP bundle is worth over £1,000, but if you join in the month of November, you will get that completely free. But here's the catch, these spots are limited, so it is first come, first served, which is why I'm letting you, my loyal podcast listeners, hear about them first before I announce them to anyone else. The links to both of these Black Friday offers are in the show notes, so run, don't walk. Happy Black Friday! Okay, another one is, if you use abusive language again, I'm going to end this call. And finally, I'm not prepared to give my team this task unless you give them access to the resource they need. So now you can see that here's the boundary. If you cross the boundary, this is what is going to happen. Okay, I love this one. This one is really, really powerful. So this is negative feelings assertion. So when you're experiencing very negative feelings about a situation, but you want to resolve it while asserting yourself. So what you do is you describe the other person's behavior without any judgment, right? So here's the example. When you make comments about what I'm eating, right? So you're not actually judging them at all. You're not saying anything that they can be like, oh, you called me this. You're just saying, when you do this thing that I don't like, then you clearly describe the impact that person's behavior is having on you. So you would say something like, when you make comments about what I'm eating, it makes me feel self-conscious while I'm eating in front of you. Right? Again, they cannot get offended by anything that you've said there. And then you state how you'd prefer their behavior to be in the future. So you'd say, when you make comments about what I'm eating, it makes me feel self-conscious about eating in front of you. In future, I'd like to eat my lunch in peace without any comments. Love that. Love, love, love that. If you've got someone in your life who is really good at flipping it round so that when you are confronting them on their behavior and then suddenly you're the aggressor and they're the victim in this situation, this is actually going to combat that because you're not in any way calling them out in a way that they can pick apart. You're literally saying, I don't like it when you do that. In future, can you do something differently? Love it. And then the final one is the broken record, right? So this is for anyone who finds that even when you have stated a boundary, people keep pushing and pushing and pushing and asking and changing what they say. What it does, it breaks you down and you have to just keep finding more and more and more excuses for why you don't want them to push your boundary. The broken record is for you. So essentially you just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again without changing what you're saying. So for example, right, this is an example that I have had. I remember having it once in the past. It did not go like this, by the way. This is what it should have happened. But this is back when I was a baby PT, right? Can I join the class, please? Sorry, the class has started. I can't let you in. Oh, but I'm only 5 minutes late. The class has started. I can't let you in. Oh, but last week I was late and Sandra, the other PT, she let me in. Our gym policy is we can't let people in after the class has started. So it's literally just saying the same statement over and over again. And the thing is, that person is going to eventually be tired. They're going to be like, okay, this isn't working. I will accept that I cannot push this boundary. Like the boundary is going nowhere. It's firm. It's staying in place. They will get bored and they will be like, okay, fine. Whereas if you keep finding new excuses, they will keep trying to pick it apart. And over and above this, right? Here's what you need to remember. You always have the right to say no. Like you do not have to say yes to anyone. It is such a powerful reminder that you can say no, and no is a full sentence. You do not need to say anything more than that. If someone wants you to do something that you don't want to do, you just say no. Full stop. End of sentence. Capiche. So now we are going to work on ways that we can actually become more assertive, right? So I want you to think about some situations in your life where you really struggle to stand up for yourself. So I'm going to throw out some examples for you. So saying no, giving compliments, expressing your opinion, asking for help, expressing anger, showing affection, stating your needs, giving criticism or feedback, and starting a conversation and continuing it, right? So think about all of those situations, but also think about the different types of situations. So, for example, immediate family, colleagues, authority figures, strangers, work colleagues. And then I want you to think about 3 situations that you'd like to be more assertive in. So it might be something like, say you've got a client who always forgets to pay you on time, right? So you want to be more assertive in asking for money because let's face it, a lot of people struggle with asking for money. So say the situation is, I want to tell a client they are overdue in a payment. So then I want you to ask, what are the unhelpful beliefs that you have about this situation? So you want to ask your client to pay you on time. You think perhaps that if you ask the client to pay you on time, they will think you're pushy, they will think you only care about money, and they will not want to work with you anymore. So then I want you to flip that and think, what are more assertive beliefs about that situation? The assertive belief is that you have delivered a service, therefore you deserve to be paid on time. You have asked that client to sign a contract to say that the payment is due on X date, therefore that payment needs to arrive on X date. But also just thinking, perhaps they have just forgotten and they would appreciate the reminder to be paying on time. And then I want you to think about what are the unassertive or passive behaviors that are you displaying in this situation. So what are you doing currently that's not helping? So right now you might be just not asking for the payment on time and assuming that they are going to remember. Or it might be that you're apologizing for asking for the payment. And we all know that when you add in a sorry, that it just really damages your own self-esteem. Imagining apologizing for asking to be paid. So we want to address those things. And then finally, what are more assertive behaviors that I could show in this situation? And an assertive behavior would be perhaps sending an email that reminds someone a couple of days before their payment is due. Hello, your payment is due. Make sure that it arrives on time. Perhaps asking directly for payment, asking without any emotion. A really good tip that I once heard is tell the price of your services like you're telling the time. Hi, can you pay me for this month, please? And then also perhaps outlining boundaries for any future payments. So for example, for the last couple of months, you've actually not paid me on time. So in future, I would like this paid by X day. Okay, I want you to go out and be assertive. Remember, it takes practice. The first time you show assertiveness, it will feel so weird. It'll feel so alien, but it takes time. And I want to tell you a little bit about one of my clients. So I have been working with this particular person since April 2024. So now we're in November. So we've been working together for quite a long time. And when she came to me, she was generally quite a passive person. Like she's not an extrovert in any sense of the word. She is quite introverted. Like she's really good at what she does as a coach and she's got tons of experience, but she was really struggling to get her clients to adhere to their plans. She was also struggling to increase her prices. And quite often what would happen is that she would offer a service and people would be like, oh no, I don't want that. Can I have like a bit of it and pay less? And she would let that happen. And I had a chat with her the other day because I was reading the form that she filled in when she started working with me. And it honestly seems like it was written by a different person. The change in her is absolutely insane. So, just on paper, she is charging more than 3 times the amount that she was charging when she started with me. She has doubled her income. She has so many more clients working with her who are getting results. But then also, if you just look at her social media and the way that she comes across, it is like a completely different person. And I sent her a screenshot. I was like, I actually can't believe that you wrote this. And she was like, neither can I. Like, it doesn't even sound like me. And I actually had the pleasure of hanging out with her recently because we both went to the same live event that was hosted by one of my other clients. And there was just a physical difference in her. She was taller, her shoulders were back. She just seemed really, really secure in herself, but also just like a natural, easygoing smile was just always on her face. And when I think back to what I was talking about at the start of the call, that big dick energy, that's what she had. She was the sort of person that when you walk in the room, you're like you take notice because she is clearly so confident and assured in herself. When I don't know if I would have felt that about her when she walked in the room at the start of this year. That is something that takes time and practice. It's not something that happens overnight. That has happened from between April and November. So at least 6 months of working on herself, of self-development, of practicing of these assertive behaviors, and actually just doing all these hard things. Like even the tone in her messaging has completely changed. I've spoken about her before in this podcast. Well, she was the sort of person who pandered to that sort of like someone who is making a lot of excuses, whereas she's now the sort of person that has people joining waiting lists to work with her. Like, that's just wild. Like, she is like, if you want to work with me, if you want to put the work in, you will get results. I read her content and I sit up and listen. And that is an attitude. That is working on yourself. That's not just learning a content strategy. And that is why these last 2 episodes of the podcast, I feel, are going to be what really pushes the needle forward in your business, because anyone can learn the strategy, but not everyone can embody that assertive, big deal energy, self-compassionate leader. And that's what I want you all to be. Okay, so let's move on to membership question of the week. So the membership question of the week comes from a discussion that I had in the last check-in call for Liberation Lounge. And someone asked, how do I set my goals for 2025? Isn't that an amazing question, right? So here's what I'm going to do with my clients in January is I'm going to take them through a goal setting session for the entire year, right? So it's not going to be just like, I want to earn X amount of money. It's going to be how we are actually going to get you there. So say you've got income goals, but you've maybe got lifestyle goals that you want to be completely online. Maybe you want to free up a day. Maybe you want to like completely change your lifestyle. Maybe you want to be able to save for a holiday, right? How can we actually do that with our business? Now, here is what I'm going to get them to do is I'm going to set them business goals, then they're going to break them down to quarter goals, and then they're going to break them down to month goals. And I just love doing this because it makes you feel so safe and calm in your business, because you know exactly each month what you're going to be talking about, what the focus is. You are starting to run your business properly instead of by the seat of your pants. And I think that is the difference between someone who looks back at their business for the last year and is like, nothing has changed. I'm exactly where I was. And someone who is actually looking back thinking, holy shit, I have completely changed my business. I'm earning so much more money. This is a proper big deal now. So if you're sitting listening to this, we're in November, we're in the end of November. Now is the time to make a change. And if you've ever thought about completely making over your business, if you're wanting to make a big change in your lifestyle, if you're wanting to pivot from in-person PT to online, if you're wanting to scale your online business so you're making money while you sleep, then now is the time to take action. If you're listening to this in November, you can take advantage of my Black Friday offers. If you're not listening to this in November, still send me a message because I want to be that woman who helps you get there. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it and are very excited about what is coming in 2025. I sure am. If you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and rate 5 stars, obviously. You can always contact me on the podcast email, sheisthemomentpodcast@gmail.com, or reach out on Instagram @unapologeticallyshona. All the links to all my socials, all my programs are in the show notes. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.